Welcome, everybody, to Energy Advisors. Got another show for you today. I'm excited. Today's podcast. Your host I'm bringing to you today, it's Rex, that energy guy. So if you don't remember me, just say, hey, who's that energy guy? Well, it's Rex. All right. So excited about today's guest on the show. Our show is always brought to you by our friends at Solar Energy Partners. They are, when it comes to solar, I can't think of anybody that does it better. And what's fun about our show today is we actually have an interview. I've been trying to get this going. They're so doggone busy, but I have an interview with Alex Williams, who is one of the founders and one of the owners of Solar Energy Partners. But before we get started there, I would like everybody to all that house cleaning stuff. We are found everywhere. So if you are watching us on any of the video channels, don't forget to subscribe and select the notifications. And then we could be found just about anywhere you can find a podcast. So if you don't like the platform you're on, check out another one. We're there. And exciting today. It was fun to talk about this real quick to share with our listeners. I was checking the stats, and we are now listened to in 11 different countries. So things are moving pretty quickly. It's pretty exciting to do that. And a little fun, just a little personal note. The show is on the road today. I'm up in Aspen, Colorado, checking out the fall colors and doing a little bit of mountain biking and hiking and hanging out and to a conference up here. So yeah, we're on the road, and it's a fun time to be there. If you haven't been to Aspen, you got to go. It's crazy. It's what I noticed in getting up here, because I live up there just outside of Boulder. I can't believe how much more solar has starting to show up and pop up on the way up here. Okay, well, that's all the fun stuff. Get all the house cleaning out of the way. I'm glad to have you with us. And again, don't forget to subscribe and like. All right. Well, I'm excited to have Alex with us. Gosh, Alex, we've been trying to get you on for quite some time. You're one busy guy, so welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Rex. You were talking about being on the road, and I know that feeling. I was just sitting here thinking while you were talking, and I believe I've been in 9 states in the last 9 weeks. So
Wow.
getting around, shaking and baking. Appreciate the patience, and excited to be on the show.
Well, it's kind of rare sometimes when you actually have your sponsor on, so that's important to us, and we like that. So, here on the show, we talk everything energy, always all types of topics. But one of the things I like to do is talk about the people behind it, because people have misconceptions or that kind of thing. So I want to go back to the beginning, Alex, just a little bit. We won't spend too much time on this, but take me back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up? And then go through some your times in schools and early jobs, and then we'll get up to Solar Energy Partners.
All righty. Was born and raised in a teeny tiny little dirt town called Rigby, Idaho.
Okay.
Idaho is big on the potato, and we're from a little potato town. The thing that's unique about Rigby is I always tell people Rigby's so boring that the TV was actually invented there. A guy named Philo T. Farnsworth is who invented the television.
That's right.
And he created his first drawing on the high school chalkboard in Rigby, Idaho. So that tells you a little bit about Rigby. I'm the youngest of 2. My older brother is also a partner with me and a founder here at Solar Energy Partners. We've done a handful of businesses together. And really the way that it works for me is I was never a great student in the sense of loving school. I've always loved to learn. It's always been a passion of mine to find things out, but I was never the best student. So I got out of school as quick as I could. And I started knocking doors actually while I was still in high school.
Wow.
My brother really got serious into it in his early 20s, and I followed him into a company called Apex Alarm. And Apex ended up becoming a company called Vivint.
Right. They're down in Salt Lake, right? Vivint?
Yeah, Provo, just south of Salt Lake.
Yep.
And then Vivint spun out a solar company. So when we started Apex, it was just a little company trying to get, I believe 50,000 customers was what their goal was the first year I was there. And by the time we left the Vivint umbrella, they had 2 companies with a total of about 1.5 million customers. And we had done about, just shy of 10,000 smart home with Vivint, and just a little over 1,500 solar systems with Vivint Solar. So did a
Wow.
ton there. In the meantime, in between, I got into energy. I really fell in love with energy in the oil and gas industry. So between Apex and Vivint Solar, I actually left Vivint and went and started my own company in the oil and gas fields up in North Dakota, if you're
Okay.
familiar with the Bakken oil fields.
Absolutely.
And from there, Clint had switched over, got into solar, and told me, man, solar's the future. You got to get out here. And so I joined him at Vivint. We built teams all over California, ended up helping, as I said, a couple thousand customers and a few hundred sales reps get into the solar industry. And then we just decided that Vivint had got to a size where it was so hard to make changes. It was so hard to try and turn the Titanic, if you will.
Right.
And so we started a company called Golden Valley Energy. We were there in the Central Valley of California and started doing that. We partnered with a guy named Dave Madrid and formed Solar Energy Partners just about a year before the pandemic started.
Oh boy.
And you know, from there we've expanded to now offering in I believe 22 different states that we can do deals in now, and we've got a few hundred contractors that work with us and provide the customer experience. So very excited about where we've come and even more so about where we're headed in the future.
Yeah. I want to ask this sort of oddball question. I don't think back, we're similar in age. I don't think back when we grew up, anybody dreamed about being in energy, right? I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
you're riding your bike around Rigby or walking to school and you're going, man, I'm going to be in energy someday. I'm going to be in solar. So was there a particular thing that drove you to go that? I mean, I know you talked about how you progressed through, Apex and to where you are today. But what was the passion? What made you grab it and say, this is really what I want to do?
Honestly, for me, it was more a product of entrepreneurship than it was a product of like loving energy. So I
Okay.
figured out kind of, early on, like me and Clint are both Eagle Scouts. So
Okay.
we were in the Boy Scouts of America for a long time. And in the scouting,
So
we
was
kind of
I.
figured out, there you go. There you go. Do your
Yeah.
duty. And, and we kind of figured out that we liked leadership, both of us. We liked, we liked being involved in teams, but we liked using teams to accomplish things, and
Okay.
so as we got into our careers and in our early 20s, Clint's an exceptional salesperson. He literally number one person on every team that he did, and he was just a phenomenal in-home salesperson. I was never as good with the customer, but I love team building, I love recruiting, I love providing jobs. Really, one of my favorite things in life is to help someone do something for themselves that they didn't think was possible, right? That
Yeah.
going out and making enough money to pay off all their debt, or paying for their child to go to school, or insert whatever big financial goal. Helping people achieve that brings a level of excitement and just overall satisfaction that I really got hooked in my 20s. And in the oil fields, we started with one truck and me, and built it to, we were running 30 trucks on 24-hour shifts. We had 50 full-time employees at one time. And that was when I really figured out, like, okay, I want to build something huge. Like, I want to have something that we have hundreds and hundreds of people working towards the same goal,
Hmm.
because by unifying people's vision into something, you can get so much done. You can accomplish so
Yeah.
much. And so for me, the energy kind of ended up being a little bit of a byproduct. North Dakota was the first time I felt like I had created a system where I could give someone an $100,000 a year opportunity if they were willing to come work really hard.
Right.
And when we got to solar, what we realized is that's just the beginning of the opportunity. People can make absolutely life-changing,
Yeah.
income by helping customers really harness the most abundant energy source there is, right? By taking and harnessing the sun for our own good, it
Yeah.
really is incredible what we can accomplish.
Well, I'm always thrilled about solar. I looked at it for quite some time, and we put it on our home 2 years ago, and have in Colorado there, and haven't had a electric bill since. And so the system
Nice.
was sized right. So I almost jumped into it then, but held off a little bit to check on energy and that kinds of stuff. So, there's a lot of people out there doing solar these days. I mean, the field has just grown with so many different companies. And I kind of chuckle sometimes. I kind of learned this phrase back in the painting days when the first business I ever did was a paint contractor. There's a lot of two boys, a dog, and a ladder, kind of guys out there,
Yeah.
and tell us, help us understand what's most important that someone should really look at and sort of evaluate when they're selecting someone to do solar.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, there's really a few major keys that you've got to weigh out, and every customer, every homeowner is going to have a little bit of a different mix. So the first
Okay.
is, what's most important to you that solar delivers? Are you looking for the lowest payment possible? Are you looking for the best return on investment? Do you want to have ownership in something that you're earning equity in? Do you care about tax credits? So kind of the finance piece of solar is question number one. So
Okay,
what do I
finance.
want to accomplish financially?
Okay. That was
Question
my
number,
primary driver. I mean, I look at energy always from a financial perspective. The wonderful let's make our greener world and stuff is great, but for me, I'm always looking at finance. Okay. So what's number two?
Number two is we got to keep in mind this is a construction project, right? So
Okay.
really it comes down to that contractor, as you said, two guys, a dog, and a truck. Maybe those two guys do great work, but solar is a 25-year decision. Solar panels, 25 to 30 years is a very typical lifespan, and so it's about selecting a company that is going to be there to service your product for the product's life cycle, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
buy a piece of equipment and the company there to fix the equipment doesn't exist anymore. So
Right.
a high level contractor, I think, is the second, major piece there. And then the third one is, you touched on it earlier, sizing the system correctly, I think, is a big piece of having a great solar experience. If you don't get enough solar, you can feel like, wow, we're still paying two bills here. What's the point of this?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
being very detailed in the sizing of the system would be the third factor.
There's something that I've been harping about a lot, and I continue to do because I think it's important today. Energy has become such a big topic. We are seeing such stress on the grid, our electrical grid. There's so much dynamics and discussion about politics, about sources, and there's just a lot going on. And so, I've told people this on the program before, and I will continue to harp on this. I think everybody needs a personal energy strategy. And now maybe that's a little goofy. Okay, so you're going to have a financial plan, right? You're going to basically sit down. You're going to say, hey, this is how much money I'm going to save, but by the time I retire, you're going to have, for a lot of people, like a career plan. Well, hey, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to work at a company at this level. I think about my son-in-law who's an accountant. Well, he went to work for a big accountant firm, Deloitte, because he wanted to get all this training, right? But then he doesn't want to work for them forever. So we talk about career plans, we talk about financial plans, and I honestly believe with so much going on with energy, because it's such a big part of our bills, and now transportation is really kind of weaved into that, I really think the energy is, people ought to have an energy strategy. And I think people need to start looking at what's out there to see what their options are. I'm just going to be frank about it. When I put my solar on my house, yeah, we did okay, but I was lucky enough to find a provider. I didn't have a chance to work with you, but I could have had a horrible experience. So my first step into energy, I fell into it. I mean, I got lucky. Okay. I didn't have some grand master plan, but I think a lot of people need to start thinking about that. And, you've done a lot of systems out there. Do you think I'm crazy on that? I mean, having an energy strategy, people should.
Oh, absolutely. I think, as you said, we've got strategies for everything. We've got a career plan. We've got a life plan. We've got a plan for the weekend.
Yeah.
But I think most people don't realize, and I don't think that we are conscious about it, but the number one thing that Americans spend their money on every month is healthcare.
Yeah.
The number two expense in our life is energy.
Yeah.
So the number two thing we're spending our money on is energy, and we're not doing it with a plan, most of us. And so I think we all know the saying, you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And more so than ever, the ability to take control of that does fall to the customer. You can now, I was telling you a minute ago, I just bought a Tesla. So solar on the roof produces the electricity, charges the Tesla. I drive the Tesla.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay anybody. I just
Right.
use, energy falling on the roof. So it's a pretty unique and exciting time, but I would agree. You want to make a plan, and the longer you plan, the better, return you probably have a chance of getting.
Well, let's step back in time for a moment and discuss, you've been in this for quite some time. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the technology over the time that you've been in solar?
Well, I think it's a fun time in the industry, and we're here in California, and I've spent the majority of my solar career here in California, and it's fun because we've seen, it was 2014 we started doing solar here in California, and almost nowhere else in the country. There were a handful of other states, but it was very small market.
Right.
And now what was happening in California, maybe 2012 to 2015, is happening in a lot of other states. And Colorado, you guys are a little ahead. You're probably where California was maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
And so in California, almost every install is going to require some type of storage on the side of the home.
Okay.
And that's new this year. So that's the biggest change. Is for a long time it was solar on the roof and your energy's going onto the grid when you don't need it. But now we're getting into where solar, I really think, is going to hit its stride and really take the country by storm, is when you can produce the electricity on the roof and store it in the home, or as I said, in a vehicle, it really becomes usable. And that's the thing, is as a customer, if I can capture the energy on the roof and I can get it into a system that's usable, I can transform my life with it. So battery proliferation throughout the United States over the next few years is going to be a huge change. And then, panels are almost 200% as efficient as they were when I got into the industry. So we were doing, 200 to 220 watt panels. Now we're doing 400 watt panels. So way higher production in the same amount of space. And then adding the storage is by far the two biggest technology impacts, I think.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch that, because I do a lot of research, and again, this, where I spend my time and energy, and I'm watching the advances in the technology. And I think a lot of the problem out there, kind of going back to this energy strategy thing, is we take it for granted here in America. I mean, you walk over, you turn the lights on, and unless you haven't paid the bill, that's the experience people have. And so it's easy to take that advantage and so, hey, no big deal. But people don't understand what's going on behind the scenes with the advance in the technology. And again, it's on fire. Like you said, 200% more efficiency in the panels. Now the battery storage is coming to place. And you're seeing all different size of battery storage systems too. So if you could you talk a little bit about sort of the approach that, because like people in California or Colorado, there's different programs, whether you're going to buy it outright or you're going to kind of, be in a relationship with the utility company. So could you explain that a little bit for the audience? Because again, everything we do is all about teaching.
Absolutely. There's really three ways that you can pay for a solar system.
Okay.
Pay it cash, right? Write a check, put it on your Amex for some points, whatever you're going to do there. That one's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Number two is financed. Think of a term loan similar to like a car loan. You're going to pay payments over anywhere from a 5-year term all the way to a 30-year term, depending on what the customer wants. Very typical in the industry is that 20 to 25-year range. And then there's going to be an interest rate on that. And it's pretty simple. And then the third one is called third-party ownership. And under a third-party owner, a solar provider is going to pay for all the equipment and installation, and then you're just going to buy your energy from the system. So it's kind of like right now you buy your energy from the utility company. They do whatever they do to produce that energy. The new company is going to be a solar company that's producing that energy with the system on your roof, and you're still just buying the electricity that the system produces for an agreed upon rate. What's great about a third-party ownership model is normally you have day one savings. So your current utility bill is lower, or your new utility bill is lower than your current utility bill. And then it has a very easy transfer process. So here in California, homes on average sell about every 7.5 years.
Okay.
But people who finance solar end up paying it off as part of the sale almost 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So really, if you're buying solar, if you're financing solar or paying cash for solar, and then you sell your home 5 years later, whoever buys your home is kind of getting the solar for free.
Yeah.
But with the PPA, you get cheap electricity while you're in the home. And then whenever you move, it just transfers to the new home buyer, just like the utility bill does. I move into the house, I pay the electricity bill, except for my electricity bill comes from solar instead of coming from, traditional. So those are the three main ways. I would say in California, we're seeing most demand in third-party ownership. Second demand would be financed system. And then there are that percentage of the industry that's always going to want to pay cash.
Yeah. So if you could, and I this is right in that vein, there's a term that's thrown around on solar a lot called bill swap. Can you explain that to the audience today?
Yeah, the idea of a bill swap is we're going to set up a solar system that is covering all of your electricity, and your new bill is less than your current bill. So whatever your current utility bill is, it goes away because we're covering all of your electricity usage with the solar.
Yeah.
And then you're just paying for the solar. So you've swapped to a solar bill, and that bill is lower than whatever it was before. And then the beauty of solar is the predictability.
Yes.
I think what we're finding is utility prices over time categorically increase. It doesn't matter what segment of the United States you look at, what utility company you look at. If you zoom out on a 20 or 25 year scale, they're increasing pretty dramatically. The beauty of solar is you can get a system put on your roof and you can get a price that doesn't increase for the next 25 years. So that ability to lock in your rate is very advantageous.
Well, one of the things when I looked at solar too was the ridiculous amount of rate increases we had in Colorado. Now, people in California will probably laugh at me, but I'll just kind of walk through the numbers because people don't understand. So in the last 2 years here in Colorado, the rates have gone up over 50%. So 2 years ago, they did a 38% increase in the rates, 31%. And then they went to those smart meters, which the smart meters was really only smart for the electric company because they want to charge you double during 1 to 7, and then also triple during 3 to 7. Well, excuse me, double during 1 to 3, and then triple between 3 and 7. Okay, so it's a sneaky way to put in a rate increase, because what we've seen in Colorado in their test markets is the fact that that's an additional cost to the homeowner for their electricity during those peak hours of about another 10 to 15%. Now, not only did they sneak it in and didn't really tell anybody, and they haven't really done their homework, this year they've already applied for another rate increase. And I just saw in the news the other day, coming up here in the fourth quarter, another rate increase. And so one of the advantages I have with my system is I'm locked in. So my excess energy, they pay me. And I like to tell people, look, Xcel Energy, I hated them in the past, but now they're my customer, because they're basically, I was in the program at the time when I actually still get a check every month. So I get a check that comes back. Yeah, early adopter on that. Now, that those programs have changed where they're giving you credits and you true up and those types of things. But I
Right.
just tell people, look, I have flipped the relationship. Excel is my customer. They buy my excess energy. And then I'm going to put a battery system into my house here coming up here soon. And so during the day, I'll probably sell a little bit less back to them, but I'll have that power that I won't be consuming. So I'll have a net gain on that also too. So that way
Yeah.
I have more storage. And the one of the things a lot of people talk about in energy is independence. I want to be independent of the
Yep.
power company. Are you seeing a lot of people doing that these days? Is that a motivator, is to gain that independence?
Yeah, I think all of us, as the world gets a little crazier and a little more out of control, we all try and gain control where we can. And I think for a lot of people, energy is a place that they're wanting more control. They're wanting to have a little bit more predictability in that bill. And so we get a little bit of it. It's pretty difficult to get off grid if you live in an area that you're within grid reach.
Yeah.
Almost all municipalities in the U.S. force you to be connected to the grids, essentially. So
Yeah.
in that sense, we're not seeing much of it. But where you're talking about putting solar on the roof and storage and then switching to an electric vehicle, to me, that is the new independence. When I can produce power on my property and I can use it to power my life, and I don't have to really deal with the utility company. They don't pay me, I don't pay them. We kind of live on separate sides of the street, if you will.
Yep.
I really feel like that is energy independence in the future, and that is happening. 90+% of our installs every week are going to have battery attachment here in California.
That's nice. That's nice. I love it. That's the thing I'm looking forward to, is making sure that, of course, I'm still connected to the grid. Okay. But I want to have my own backup. Yeah. And I've been researching the EVs. I can't get my wife to pull the trigger yet, but you just got one and you're loving it. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to do that, because then I don't have to worry if the world goes into a little bit more chaos. I'm okay. Because one of the things, and I'd like to discuss this for just a moment, because we'll let you get going here pretty soon, but you see the articles on the news a lot. I almost said paper, but that would date me, because who reads a newspaper anymore? But you see the articles a lot about the strain on the grid. And I don't have anything other than just a big guess in the eye kind of thing. But I don't see how we're not going to have some big grid problems here in the next 5 years, with more and more vehicles coming along, and the infrastructure hasn't been updated in forever. What do you see in that place? I mean, am I just being a conspiracy theorist about that? Because it worries me that I'm going to wake up one day, and if I didn't have my own power source, I might literally be worried about keeping my home heated and my food cold.
I've seen, since I got into solar, I've seen more grid outings and more grid interruption and more grid difficulty than really the rest of my life combined, I think. And I do feel that there's going to be a bit of a difficult transition there. The way we've interacted with fossil fuels and transportation for the last 100 years is not the same way as we're going to be interacting over the next 100 years. And so I think, as you said, this next 5 years is probably going to be the most dramatic shift. I think humans are very innovative and very problem solvers. There hasn't been much we've ran into that we haven't tackled. So I would imagine that we're going to get it figured out. I can tell you, the more people that take the independence route, the more people that will go solve their own problem, in the sense, it will make it better for the rest of us. And I think if the home and the personal transportation is getting solved, I feel like the public and the commercial will take care of itself. And as we kind of lead the charge with residential and homes first, personal vehicles first, I feel like the rest of it's going to come along for the ride. And really, the thing I always go back to is, when I very first got into solar, I saw a statistic that said as much energy falls on the surface of the earth every 70 minutes as all of humanity uses in 1 year.
Wow.
So there is so much energy. Think about this. There's a 20-mile by 12-mile stretch of southern Nevada that if you just filled the whole thing with solar panels, it'd power the entire United States.
Yeah.
So there is so much energy hitting the earth here, and there's so much power at our fingertips that I really feel like as the electric vehicle future gets embraced at the same time as the solar on your home future gets embraced, those two are going to power each other. And I really feel like they'll help each other out. There'll be some bumps and some bruises along the way, but I feel like the technology is there if deployed correctly, and if enough people embrace at the same time. I really feel like we can create that future we're all hoping for without too much of a difficult transition. A soft landing like they're hoping for with the economy would be great.
Yeah, and I'm an optimist like you. I think that you give people a challenge, they're going to figure this out. I mean, it's always happened here in the United States. We've always seen innovation. You know, people don't understand that before Henry Ford and all those guys kicked off all the combustion engines, at the turn of 1900, there were more electric cars than there were combustion engine cars. But what happened was the economics worked better for the combustion engine, and what made it take off was the electric starter. Because mom didn't have to be out there in the mud, you know, trying to start the car, cranking the car. So the electric starter has as much, not only the price point of cars, but electric starters had the biggest impact on the spread of vehicles, because 1900, we didn't have super paved highways. We didn't have parking lots and stuff. You didn't even have probably a place paved in front of your house. And so I'm with you. I think that problems will be solved and it'll get going there. Well, I always want to share this. It's been great. I know you've got to get going here. We're going to get you back on. We're going to talk more. We'll dive a little deeper into some of the technology and that kinds of stuff. But I wanted to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you, and then also talk about how they engage with you through my organization. So their website for Solar Energy Partners is just that. It's solarenergy.partners, okay, with all the new wonderful extensions. And then, you know, the best way to get this, I explain to people, is go to my website, go to energy. See, I'm just sold on Energy Partners. Go to energyadvisors.today. And go there and request an analysis, and it's a free thing. So go there. We can help you do this clear across, like you said, 22 states across the country. Go there, fill out the form. We'll get in touch with you. We'll get some information and see if you qualify for some of these programs, see if it works right for you. And then we'll get somebody out and sit down and explain how that works. And so don't forget to stop by the website at energyadvisors.today. So, Alex, it's been great to have you on. Like I said, we'll get you back on for the things. I'm excited about what's going on for energy, solar energy partners. I tell you, I'm just having a hard day today, but excited working with you guys. We appreciate your sponsorship on the program. We're excited to work with you as we grow this across not only the United States, but the world. Like I mentioned, we're now in 11 countries, and so the message is getting out. So glad to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Rex, appreciate the platform. Appreciate the great questions. It's always a pleasure. I'll definitely come back on sometime soon. And in the interim, have a fantastic weekend, sir. Enjoy those colors up in Aspen.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much, Alex. Take care. Thanks.